Hi. Hi, guys. Oh, my God. It feels so good to be back. Hi. 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 It's been so long. Look, guys. Look.
DJ Paul.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Hi. Sorry. So much has happened. Holy shit. I don't even know where to start. And, like, I keep dropping this pen. So it's, like, digging all over the place. Hang on. I'm trying to see if maybe, just maybe, we are currently. See? Nope. Man. How do we do it?
Joseph Smith, we are alive and well. How are you?
Sorry, guys, we're here. I'm just trying to figure out how to get it to go.
Big Max T.
It's on there.
Hubert. Casual homies. It's not showing me any other names, so.
I don't know.
Oreo.
I don't know if we're live. Sorry, guys. I am. Sorry. We just did the YouTube channel, so it's supposed to link and it's supposed to automatically go live, but it doesn't appear that it is yet. So sorry, when I went to hit this live feed, it told me that I needed to enable live streams from the YouTube channel, which I didn't know was a thing. So I enabled it when this thing went live. That's why there was like 30 seconds of probably me looking like a jackass. But I enabled it and it said it could take up to 24 hours. So if you guys or whoever wants to view this live on YouTube, I am sorry. I failed you. But if
Shout out to Rachel Curtis for joining in. Hello.
If I can't get this episode on YouTube, the next one will definitely be on YouTube because I'm going to dig and figure out what I need if I need anything else. So again, I apologize. But for those of you who have subscribed to the YouTube channel, thank you. We appreciate that big time. We are literally just under 100 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel and you have a YouTube account, please go and look us up on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Nate Holler, what up, Ninja? Eric Birdsong.
So, like I said, so much has happened. So I feel like we should just touch base, I guess, before we start this. So yeah, let's just touch base first. Since we last saw you, it was Christmas. So we hope everyone had a good Merry Christmas. We had a pretty good Christmas.
I got so many toys.
So much stuff.
We got more toys at 46 years old than I did when I was a kid.
And what sucks is like normally we take pictures and we show off, but we were planning the vacation, as all of you guys knew. So we were like, we'll take pictures and post them when we get back. And then everything got put on hold. But anywho, we had a great Christmas. The day after Christmas, we woke up and we headed to Georgia. We went and seen a couple of our friends, Dean and Christy, and
the Von Odds.
The Von Odds, and we spent a night with them, had dinner with them. That was fun. The next day, we headed to Savannah. We did some ghost tours, which was really fun. We went
badass graveyards.
Yeah, some graveyards.
Found a killer vinyl store in
like an
Savannah,
oddity.
Georgia.
It was like an oddity vinyl store. I can't remember the name. Is Gravehead something?
Gravehead something.
We'd have to look back on our post, but it was really cool. And if you guys are ever interested in going to Savannah and want to know that information, feel free to reach out. But it was really cool. We found some really cool stuff there. Like I got my Gacy globe there, which I posted on Facebook during our vacation. Also, what else? So after we did Savannah, we headed to New Year for New Year's. We headed to Daytona Beach. And that's, the first few days were great. That's our home away from home. We love Daytona Beach. Super familiar with the area. We know where we like to eat. We know what we like to do. So it's our home away from home. It's our happy place. So we went. New Year's rolls around. We have a great New Year's. We got everything ready beforehand, and then we went down to the beach, got all set up at the beach. I light fireworks off. I'm the one that does all the firework displays. Yeah, so I dig all my little holes in the sand, and I put all my fireworks out, and I did so much fireworks. Probably let off fireworks for about 30 minutes or so. I'd say. I think I might have just written on my face. So I don't think so.
Oh God!
Stop. You play too much. But anyways, so we lit off all our fireworks. Awesome. We had so much fun. And then after that, we had decided that we were, we wanted to enjoy the strip, which if you've never been to Daytona, there's the beach, the shoreline where because we always do like oceanfront. So that shoreline and everything's on a strip. And so we wanted to enjoy the strip. And down in Daytona, you can rent just about anything. You can rent golf carts, slingshots, scooters, like the ones that you sit down on and like ride like a motorcycle. Then they have yeah, like a moped. Then they have the scooters that you actually stand up on, like what are they, like razors?
Yeah.
Kind of like a razor or something like that. But like the stand up with the pole and the handles and stuff like that, but they're motorized. And then like all kinds of other stuff that you can rent. Well, those scooters, the stand up scooters, which a lot of like bigger cities, like here in Indiana, we have Indianapolis, which is our state capital, and downtown Indianapolis, they have them all over the place. You can just, go up, rent one and ride it wherever until the battery dies or what have you. So, we'd done our research the day before, and we decided we were going to do the scooters because they were, we didn't want to do it all night. We just wanted to ride up and down the strip. So we planned it all day, and then we find the damn scooters, which happened to be like 2 doors down at a different hotel, 2 doors down. So we walk over and we get them, and we're like, oh man, okay. So we get on them, we figure out how to use them. There's like this little thumb trigger thing on the like the handles. So we tested it out on back roads, and we were like, all right, we can do the strip. Let's go ahead and do the strip and get this over with. So we start riding down the strip, and we're doing good. We're riding. And then
are you a rider?
And then so we get to where like there's a Winn-Dixie, which is a grocery store down there. And we pull off, I'm in front of him, and I pull off to the side, and he pulls up next to me, and I look at him, and I'm like, we are not cut out for this. I was like, it's killing my feet. I'm not really having as much fun as I thought maybe I would. So, and he agreed, like we're just not really, I guess, cut out for scooters because we're not 16 anymore. So we both decided, it's safe for us. Let's go ahead and turn around. We're going to turn around. So we turned around at a light, and this was literally the 10 seconds that he had gotten in front of me. We turn around at the light. We start to go the other way, and there's a pedestrian. So we get off the road, and we're riding, off the sidewalk. Yeah, so off the sidewalk, because like when you're on sidewalks, there's like the entry for the cars, and then there's sidewalk, and then there's entry for a car, So we get off on one of those little entrances things, and we're on the side of the road by the curb, and we're gonna pass this guy. Well, something had happened, because like I said, they're motorized, and it's like a thumb. All it is just a little button that you hit with your thumb. So I was pushing it, and it felt kind of odd. Something felt weird, and I guess I panicked. I'm not real sure what happened because everything happened real quick, but I remember it feeling a little awkward as I was writing it. So then I panicked, and I was like, oh man, get off the road. And again, everything happened so quick. Before I knew it, I had connected with the curb, and when I connected with, let me tell you, these things can go up to 20 miles per hour, and they're not, I won't dare put my children on them. I'm so grateful that the girls weren't with us. I couldn't imagine our children being, oh my God, terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So I fly off my scooter because I hit, I niched, and I ended up in the curb. So when I hit the curb, I went down. My wrist broke my fall, which immediately snapped. I knew it had broke immediately. But then also my face kind of like my arm and then my face went after. And I ended up in the road. Like I know, certain I lost consciousness. I'm certain I probably had a concussion. I remember coming up, and when I set up, the first thing I did was I kind of wiped my face like that, and I looked at my hand, and I was like in and out, but I just remember seeing blood. There was so much blood in my hand. And he flies off of his scooter, grabs me up with one arm, swoops the scooter up out of the street with the other arm, gets us up off the road, and I'm just like faded. Yeah, it's just, it was, you're not gonna be able, it was so bad. Ew, it's ugly. Just get it off there. I don't want them to see it. It was so bad. I was mortified. It was New Year's. I've never broke a bone. For two, I'd never ever imagined that I would spend the holiday in another state in the emergency room. It was so terrible. And I just felt so bad because like I did all my shopping in Savannah and spent like so much money in Savannah. Like, because we're on vacation, we like to shop. And he was holding off to do his shopping until Daytona Beach because he likes to hit the flea markets. Like there's crazy flea markets in Florida and stuff like that. And that's kind of his thing. So we had planned on going shopping really for him in Daytona Beach. And then this happened. The very next day, our plans, like on New Year's Day, were to go shopping for him. That was his shopping day. But unfortunately, it got spent in the emergency room. So after that, that's when we did decide to come home 2 days early, which was so depressing. Oh my gosh, when we left at like 2 a.m. because we had gotten out of the hospital, went back to the hotel, slept for like 13 hours straight. Like we bit the fucking dust. Slept for like 13 hours straight, woke up at like midnight because we were going to check out at 11 a.m. the next morning and just go home a day early or whatever. But we woke up at midnight and he was like, baby, I can drive us home now if you want to go. And I was like, take me home. So we got everything packed up and ready. And by the time we hit the road, it was about 2 a.m. and it was 81 degrees. Whereas in Indiana, it was like 30 degrees.
Yeah.
30. I mean, the whole way home, like our dash, we have a thermostat on our dash. And the whole way home, I just watched the temperature drop and drop and drop. It was so depressing. So that was our New Year's. And that is why we haven't had an episode in as long as we have. So in the meantime, you guys have been extremely supportive. I mean, we've sold quite a bit of merch. Everybody who has been there for us as far as like, kind words, words of encouragement, letting us know everything's going to be okay. We've had people come and visit just to spend time with us. We've had people come and visit and spend, weekends with us and feed us and roll blunts for us because I can't roll the blunts right now. And, like my little broken hand, like realistically, I have zero strength in this hand. Like I'm finally able to do stuff like this, but I can't twist a bottle lid off. I can't, none of that. Like I can't even twist a bottle lid off of a Mountain Dew. I have no strength in my hand. I've barely got any mobility. So anyways, got out of the hospital, got released, knew I was going to have, emergency reconstructive surgery. I did. Surgery went well. I have a plate and 7 pins, so that's pretty cool. And the scar, if you haven't gotten to see the stitches and stuff, when they took everything off and put me in this, which I haven't taken this off yet because I was told not to. He told me I could take it off for showers, but I'm a chicken shit, so I didn't take it off. But they let me take a picture of it, and I mean this scar goes from like right here where your hand and your wrist meet all the freaking way down. It's gnarly. It's like probably one of the coolest things I have on my body.
It's like Frankenstein's upper fucking lip.
Definitely not worth it. It has been hard. It's been hard mostly because I'm truly, genuinely a workaholic. I take a lot of pride in my career and I work 6 days a week. I work about 60 hours a week. So for me to go from full-time work, 60 hours a week, nothing but grind, that's all I do, to literally a screeching halt. It's been hard. It's been really draining. The first couple weeks were really hard. I was a mess. I couldn't do anything for myself and I had to rely on him, and it was really hard. It was hard on me to be so independent and then all of a sudden not be and have to rely on someone else. So I can't be more grateful for this fucking idiot because he really did. Dude, I couldn't, for the first couple of days, I couldn't go to the bathroom alone. Like I couldn't, pull my pants up and down, stuff like that. I couldn't have been alone through this.
I have a nursing fetish.
Yesterday was my first, Friday was my first shower since the accident, since New Year's. Like I've had to take baths. I've had like a cast of some sort up my arm for almost a month now. And I got it off and we put a bag over my arm and it was amazing. I still have to have his help though. I still have to have his help to wash my hair. Like I'm still not even remotely close to 100, but we're getting better. Things are positive. Things are looking good. So I just kind of wanted to fill you guys in. I know that that's a lot of, jibber jabber or whatnot, but it has been a month since we've seen you. And I just kind of wanted to touch base and fill you all in as to why. So, you're caught up. Here we are. I'm getting better. I'm about to start physical therapy on this guy.
Since Christmas, I provided her with a nice desk.
Oh gosh, you guys don't even get to see my setup. It's so special. I'm so happy. I've got a new table. I've got the last table that we were using. It was much smaller. It was probably like a 2 foot smaller. So we got the new table. I got new chairs. We both have new fancy chairs. I have like actual office stuff. Like I have my coffee cup with my highlighters and I have a stapler. I have staples. Like look at it's my stapler. Like you guys were working really hard on this podcast. So I'm pretty proud and I'm so happy to be back. So thank you guys for sticking it out with us, waiting for us, still supporting us in the meantime. The merchandise. And as far as that goes, if anybody does want to place an order, no, I do not have a store. I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to work a storefront yet, but I do know that if you want something done, I'm happy to customize just about anything. I can do t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, anything you want. I have a wide variety of colors, sizes. I go all the way up to 5X and shirts and hoodies, I believe. The girls' tank tops go up to 2X. I mean, and I'm happy to customize anything you want. So
condoms extra small for Chris.
oh my gosh, he's so in a brogue. Oh my God. You're going to let him talk to you like that, homie?
All the casual cream,
though. Oh, dude. I can't use my right hand to beat him with.
So if anybody ever wondered if I did that to her, just know she beats me. I don't beat her.
This is very true. That's actually an extremely good point. So anyways, that's our story. Now you're caught up. We hope you guys had, as not as an eventful, holiday as us. Hopefully yours was much more chill, and relaxed and enjoyable. But yeah, so we're happy to be back. That said, we're going to kind of go ahead and jump right into this because we've already wasted 20 minutes of all of ours time. So moving forward.
Movie we are reviewing tonight was originally going to be called Marriage, but they just changed the name to Drag Me to Hell. We're going to be reviewing the unrated director's cut directed by the legendary Sam Raimi.
Can we talk about that for just 1 second?
How dope he is.
The legendary, yes. Same guy that did the Evil Dead series. So we already know that we're, gonna be fans. Evil Dead series. What else did he do? He did some of the Spider-Man movies. How do you say it? The Great and Powerful Oz, is that what it's called?
The Great and Powerful Oz.
He directed The Great and Powerful Oz, and let me tell you, that is hands down one of my favorite movies in the world. It's not about the wizard. I mean, it's about the Wizard of Oz, but it's about the Wizard of Oz. It's literally a movie about
Mila Kunis plays the
Wicked Witch of the West. Yes, so it's phenomenal. If you guys are interested in something non-horror. But anyways, yes, so go ahead.
James Franco is the Great and Powerful Oz. And Mila Kunis is in it.
But we're getting off subject.
Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
So Drag Me to Hell was released back in 2009. I can't remember what I was doing back in 2009, but it was probably nothing good.
Well, it was originally March 15th.
They played it at the South by Southwest Festival, which is a huge art festival in Texas. A lot of music,
movies,
art, independent movies.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go because the Butthole Surfers play a lot there. So
But it actually, as far as the U.S. that goes, it was May 29th of 2009. So like for the rest of the public, I guess that would be the theatrical debut, like in theaters. So May 29th for the rest of us who didn't attend the South by Southwest festival.
Sit down to watch this movie. It's going to take about an hour and a half out of your time. Well worth it. It's 99 minutes. The movie did pretty good. I mean, it made $30 million.
No, that was our budget.
Or that was their budget. I'm sorry.
So the box office,
they tripled.
They did pretty good.
It was $90.8 million is what they made at the box office. Which ain't shabby.
No.
I mean, it's a great fucking movie, too.
I think
for a jump scare movie.
I think as far as box office goes, they kind of want to always double it, if I'm not mistaken. Like your goal is obviously your goal is to make more than double.
What it costs to make
but
the movie.
as far as box office, I don't think it's considered to be successful unless you make at least double your money back.
Right.
So in this case, they went from 30 million
definitely
to
want
90
some
million.
kind of return.
Right. So as far as the plot goes with this movie, it's about a gal named Christine Brown. She has a loving boyfriend and a great job. She's a loan officer at an LA bank. But her heavenly life becomes hellish when, in efforts to impress her boss, she denies an elderly gypsy woman request.
Real quick, her boyfriend is Justin Long, and last night my wife said that he does not belong in horror movies.
Oh wow, yo, bust me out like that.
Was in fucking Jeepers
Don't
Creepers,
care.
and he was fucking great.
He is
great.
He's
Justin Long
a comedian.
is a national treasure.
He should
I
be
love him in
in
all his
funny movies.
Dodgeball,
Funny movies.
great fucking
Yeah,
movie.
and it was funny.
Yeah, Waiting.
And it was
great underrated
funny.
actor. And
Oh, I love Justin Long. I am not disagreeing one bit. Anyways, off subject.
Not working at the Nike outlet in Daytona Beach, Florida, like I seen.
There was a kid that was working the door since COVID. You know, they got to count the people. There was a kid who was working the door counting people in Daytona Beach, Florida. And this was July when we went. He seriously looked like Justin Long, identical, like his little brother for sure. But anyways, like I said,
Google Justin Long and change your profile picture for 24 hours.
Anyways, her life, turns to shambles when she denies an elderly gypsy woman a request for an extension on her home loan. In retaliation, the woman places a curse on Christy, threatening her soul with eternal damnation. Go ahead and tell me, Cass, since you already jumped into part of it.
Well, I thought the chick that played Christine was the chick that plays Pam in The Office, but
he wouldn't listen to me.
It was not. I had to Google it.
I was right.
It was Allison Lohman. Justin Long. Oh, hell, Clay. Justin Long.
He plays Clay, her boyfriend. Clay.
Lorna Ray is Mrs. Ganoush.
Which is the gypsy woman.
Gypsy lady. Oh, she was.
Ooh, brutal. We'll get into that.
And probably my second favorite character next to Justin Long was Dilip Rao as Ram Joss. He was the guy that ran
fortune teller.
The fortune teller.
Mm-hmm.
And just phenomenal acting. I don't know. I can't really say I've seen him in anything else, but
he was pretty impressive as far as his role. Yeah,
and,
in that movie.
Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah.
So it was great.
So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the rundown. You know how we do. So we're gonna do scene by scene and kind of talk about it. So our opening scene, we have the little boy who is drugged to hell. So you've got opening where we see him and his panicked family. They're knocking on a door. The gal opens the door. They're basically begging for help. Please help us. Our son, something's wrong with our son. They get him inside. They start asking, what has happened? They ask what has happened, and that's when they reveal that he had taken something. Stole
something.
Yeah,
from a gypsy.
Yep. So obviously they had placed a curse on him. So they take him inside and they try to reverse the curse. It doesn't work. The little boy is tossed from a second floor and tossed over like a railing onto the second floor.
I slammed a child on the hard concrete.
And that's when the floor had actually opened. And when it opened, you see the boy being drugged literally to hell. So that is your opening scene. After that, you've got the opening credits. Beyond the opening credits, you've got her. This is where we meet Christine Brown for the first time. She's driving her car to work. She's listening to speaking technique tapes. I'm not real sure why, because it doesn't.
She's a manager.
I mean, well, yeah,
assistant manager
of course.
At a bank,
but I'm not sure how that. Right. That kind of stood out as odd to me, why she was doing speaking techniques in the beginning of the movie. But
dumb shit while I'm driving
whatever.
All the time,
yeah, I mean people. Yeah, people listen to how to speak different languages and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that would have made a little more sense.
I know how to speak Portuguese.
He does not. Nope. Wrong. So anyways, but it takes us to where she works, which she works at a bank. Quickly you find that she's a loan officer.
Been funnier if it was a sperm bank, but
oh my god,
financial institute.
Jeez, this guy. Get a load of this guy. Load. So anywho, then you see she goes and she starts speaking with her boss. They start talking about the assistant manager's position, because you see an empty desk with it. It's obviously the assistant manager's desk, and she's wanting to get the promotion.
What they're gonna let you know is what happened to the last assistant.
So they talk, and she's she says, have you put any more thought into who's taking the position? He says, yes, of course I have. It's between you and the new guy, Stu. And she's like, oh, the new guy, Stu. Well, Stu is aggressive, and Stu's want to make tough calls, and he's got that outgoing personality, which with Christine, she's very kind and gentle, and like she wants to help, and she wants to save the world, basically, is kind of how it's coming off in the beginning. But she's also very kind and very like
How
she's
employees should be.
well, yeah, of course, but then again, you've got to understand the position which we are going to come across, which is fairly relevant. I mean, yeah, it, anyways, we'll get to that. But he basically says, Stu is willing to make the tough calls and stuff like that. So
Fuck Stu.
anyways, then we go to lunch with her boyfriend Clay.
Just along.
So they're having lunch, normal boyfriend girlfriend banter over lunch. She does provide him with an old coin, so obviously he is a nerdy coin collector. So he gives her this old coin.
Mighty bold of you to assume that all coin collectors are nerdy.
That's like
they're kind of like treasure hunters, like Indiana Jones. Is Indiana Jones nerdy?
Fuck it.
Think not.
Wow. Anyways, so she gives him the coin. He's all super nerdy about it. And
Jonesy about it.
And he's very grateful. He puts it in an envelope, seals it up in an envelope. He's like, I'm taking this home. This is going to be part of my collection. Thank you. Their lunch is ended. She's walking out of his office because he works suit and tie office, something. So she's walking out of the office. That's when she overhears her boyfriend taking a phone call from his mother. And Christine had just left. We just had lunch, and they start talking about, the girl from the farm. And obviously, very quickly, and poor Christine, she's overhearing this conversation as she's leaving his office because it's on speakerphone. But mom starts talking about how you don't need to be with a girl on a farm. You need to be with somebody who, this so-and-so's daughter is a lawyer, and so-and-so, the typical, rich, stuck-up type of mom who doesn't want her son to be with anything other than, like, what? Oh.
Don't like you.
That's a lie. Shoot.
My mom loves her.
I was gonna say it better be a fucking lie. Anyways, but yeah, so we go back. We are sitting like there's okay, so fast forward to a scene where she's in the bank. So this is where stuff kind of starts to pop up. So we're back at work because she just had lunch. She wasn't done for the day. So she goes back to work and she's sitting at the desk. She's looking over, at the assistant manager. Then she looks over and she sees Stu, and Stu's giving their boss bomb seat tickets to some sporting event. He's sucking up.
Sticking his nose up his ass.
Yeah, brown nosing like no other. But so she's witnessing this, and of course, I'm sure anybody who's been in the position for an advancement understands how that feels. So she automatically is like, man, I've got to do something. So that's when we actually meet Mrs. Ganoush. And
I one time had to sleep with my boss to get my job. And I had to marry her.
That too. This is all documented, all true.
Not even a joke.
So this is when we meet Mrs. Ganoush. So she comes in and she sits down at Christine's desk. And she sits down. Of course, Christine's off in La La Land thinking about what she's going to do to impress her boss. And Mrs. Ganoush had sit down at her table. And what brings her out of that, like daydream land, I guess, of what she's going to do. She's got Mrs. Ganoush with her fingers on the table, just kind of tapping her fingers, just like, yeah, with her gross looking foul, fingernails. And so anyways, it breaks her out of her daze, and she says, oh, how can I help you? So Mrs. Ganoush starts going, forward with her spiel, which is, they're trying to take my home. I'm here to ask for an extension on the loan. She said she had made her payments all the way up until all the way up until health had taken her eye, which one of her eyes was bad. And she says, I just need a little more time. Can you please ask him if they'll help? And she tries to say then, she says, I don't think they're going to go for this. And Mrs. Ganush says, well, will you please try? So, of course, her being as kind as she is and wanting to help everyone, of course, she says, yes, of course, I'll go ask. So she takes the paperwork all to her boss, who is in his office. And she says to him, there's got to be something we can do. She's got health issues, and she's working on a fixed income, so on and so forth. So her boss basically gives her the green light to do whatever it's your call, basically, is what he tells her. I know you'll make the right decision. I'll leave it up to you. So this is going back to the beginning where, he had mentioned Stu's the one who's willing to make the tough calls. So this is one of those situations where the issue with the extension was this is this woman's third time asking for an extension on this loan. So she's already been granted two extensions previously. So anybody in that sort of position would know that unfortunately we can't grant this third one. As awful as it is, and as sad as it is, the fact that she's lived there for 30 years and this has been her home for 30 years. If you don't pay your bills, it is what it is. It's unfortunately it's the American way. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So anywho, she comes back and she says, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do for you. We've already given you two. Maybe you can stay. You listed so and so as your emergency contact. Maybe you can stay with her. And of course, she wasn't having it. So she tells her, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do to help. So Mrs. Ganush gets up, takes her papers, tosses them back down on the table. She's bluffing, but she goes to walk out and then turns around and looks at her and says, basically I'm an honest woman and I've never begged, but I'm going to beg you. And literally in the middle of a bank, gets down on her knees and starts begging and pleading for Christine to save her house, which Christine's hands are kind of tied at this point. So, and she just keeps begging, and now she's pulling on her skirt, and she's making Christine really uncomfortable, and like she's wiping her mouth all over her skirt and stuff like that. Which there's a scene just before when she sits down, she's coughing into a handkerchief, and like phlegm is just coming out of her mouth. It's pretty gross. But anyway, so she's tugging on her skirt, and that's when finally Christine is just like, "Please, security." So she does call for security to come over because at this point the woman is essentially like a,
Like Blase Rose trying to push her Stevie onto somebody.
Okay.
Like, I don't want this fucking garbage. Get it off me.
That's not what it was like. But anyways, so security comes, and once the woman realizes the security is there, now she's going to be escorted out. She realizes that everyone is looking, and so she takes this as Christine has shamed her, publicly is shaming her now for the fact that she is in the position that she's in, which it obviously was not what had went. I mean, if you've seen the movie, it's obviously not what goes down, but that's how this gypsy lady feels. So as they're escorting her out, she tries to say, she tries to get her attention to apologize as she's on her way out. And this is when Mrs. Ganush snaps and goes after her to, physically assault her. But, the security guards catch her and drag her out, and out the door she goes. She's standing there with her boss, shooken, and she's like, wow. And the boss was like, never seen anything like that before. I see him. Never seen. Don't you do it? No, I don't want him in here breathing.
Okay.
They'll hear it on the thing in the background. Sorry, our dog wants to come in and he can't because this thing is really sensitive and I have to pick everything up. But anywho, so but he proceeds to tell her that she made the right decision. Unfortunately, there was nothing the bank could do from that point forward. She handled it as professionally as she possibly could. She made all the right decisions, and even down to the fact that the woman got down on her hands and knees and started physically coming after her. I mean, what else are you supposed to do in that sort of situation? Security's there for a reason. Things were getting awkward. So anyways, so she handled it right. She still felt guilty, no less. Anywho, so from that point forward, they go forward, and now we're to a point where let's square it out, locking up. So now we're to where they're locking up. So it's the end of the day, they're locking up, and now we're heading out to the parking garage where her car is parked, which is attached to the bank. So she's walking through the parking garage. Evidently, she's the very last person in the world to leave the building because it's only her car. And then we see Mrs. Ganush's car. Because when they're escorting her out of the building initially, the glass doors, you can see her car is parked right outside the glass doors, and you see her get in the car. So we know what car Mrs. Ganush drives. So she's in the parking garage, and she's approaching her car when she notices Mrs. Ganush's car off to the side. And it makes her a little uneasy, but she's like, I got no choice. I gotta go to my car. So she's fumbling for her keys, and next thing you know, she hears Mrs. Ganush coughing, which is what she had done when she had first
Like,
sit
if this
down.
gypsy lady really wanted to pay her mortgage, she could have sold her car. She had a dope ass '73 Grand Prix.
That's what he said. He was like, "Why don't you sell your car?" um, so anyways, she hears her coughing, which, like I said, was something she had first done when she sat down at the table. So she recognized the cough, she heard the cough, seen the car. So now things are getting really creepy. But she manages to get her keys in the door, unlocks the car, gets in the car, starts her car up. And the next thing you know, she's looking in front of her out her windshield, and you start to see this handkerchief, the handkerchief that the woman was coughing into. So she knows it's Mrs. Ganush's handkerchief, but she sees it start to kind of float, and it floats, and then it smacks up against the windshield, which is a jump scare. It's a pretty good one. It whacks up against the windshield, and then it just kind of drifts off the side of the windshield and over past the car, and it's going around the car. And so she's panning it, she's watching it the whole way, and she's following it. And then you don't even see what's actually coming out of the darkness in the back seat.
That's what made me jump.
That was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I love the way they did that, because you're focusing on the handkerchief as the handkerchief is floating, and now you're getting around to the back of the car. So you're turning around in your seat, and you're watching it go into the back seat. And once you get a clear shot of what's actually, you get the full vision of the back seat, and you're watching that handkerchief on the side here starts emerging her face, and this woman is in the back seat of Christine's car. Mrs. Ganush is in the back seat, and it's like it's pitch black, and then out of nowhere you start to see her face emerge from the dark. Terrifying, terrifying moment in the movie. And then the only thing she says is, "You shame me." And once she said, "You shame me," shit pops off. Like, there is just this brutal beat fucking down. I mean, everything was involved, because she's taking the gentleman had mentioned the McPherson. Sorry, let's back up just real quick, because this is important. Before she goes home that day, before she goes into the parking garage, her boss comes up to her and says, "Hey, I noticed this loan that you had gotten with so and so. It's called the McPherson loan. I seen the McPherson loan. We're really impressed by this. Do you think you could wrap this up tonight? Because I'd really love to show it to the big wigs tomorrow morning." So she was like, "Of course, yes." So the McPherson loan's a big deal. It's something that she thought up, she conjured up, she's worked on, so on and so forth. Mind you, while he's telling her he'd like her to finish this, he also tells her that he's so impressed by this work that she's actually the number one candidate for the assistant manager's position. All while this conversation is taking place, Stu is in the background, the new guy Stu, who the position is also up for grabs for. He is listening to his boss tell her this. So you already know he's thinking of something. But anyways, fast forward. So back to the car. She's got in her car, she has all of the files, the folders. She's got highlighters, pens. She's got her stapler, because she's taken all of her stuff home to finish up this, to wrap up, all the supplies and stuff she'll need to finalize this loan. But whatever, I guess it requires a ruler and everything. But so as we're having this massive fight scene between this little old gypsy woman and Christine Brown, I mean, she ends up taking out the stapler, and she's like whacking her in the face with the staple gun. She's got like staples in her forehead. She staples one of her damn eyes closed. Like, it's like intense.
Like JCW.
Oh man, inside of a car. It was horrible. Like, dragging each other all over this car. Somehow she ends up in the she ends up the car. She throws the car in like reverse or something, and then throws the car in drive. And when she throws the car in drive, she wrecks the car, sending Mrs. Ganush to the front seat. When she goes through to the front seat, she whacks her face on the dashboard, busts out breaks her false teeth and busts them out. So now she's gummy. Now she's got no teeth, and she latches on to the woman's face, like the bottom of her mouth, with her mouth. And so she's got her mouth over, and she's just like gumming the bottom part of Christine's gum. It's like, what in the French? But anyways, and it gets to a point where Christine grabs a ruler and like shoves it in the back of Mrs. Ganush's mouth. So like a ruler's just sticking out of her mouth.
Donkey kicks this bitch in the chest and she flies out a closed door in the car.
Oh
just
my God. So then finally, Christine's smart enough to get the door shut and she locks the door and she's like, ah, bitch, I beat you, you dumb old bitch. Like, because she's got the door locked. She's in, she's out, she's safe, party's over. Nope. Mrs. Ganush disappears. She goes down and she disappears. So we've got Christine. She smashes her face on the windshield. She's like looking for her. And next thing you know, here comes Mrs. Ganush back up and she's got this massive brick in her hands, which she throws through the window and smashes the window open. At that point, she's able to get the car door open and now she's dragging Christine out of the car, right?
Dragging the parking lot.
Oh, P.S. There was one point in that fight in the car where she literally rips out a massive chunk of Christine's hair. So I don't even know how that didn't show through the movie. But there was like, when she comes back, there's like a chunk of hair in her hand. But yeah, so she drags her out of the car, and she's got her on the ground, and she comes up, she starts saying some stuff. She comes up and she gets to her sleeve on her coat and rips off a button off of her sleeve. And then she takes this button in front of her and it's this little bit of a drawn out scene where she's cursing the button. And then she get at this point, Christine's dazed. She's just been the shit has been beat out of her. So she's dazed, fairly confused. But she can see that the woman's cursing the button. Then the woman hands her the button, puts it back in her hand and tells her, soon it will be you who's coming to me, begging, or, coming, it'll be you who comes to me begging for help. So essentially, I came to you, I begged you for help, and you let me down. So soon it will be you coming to me, begging me for help. Puts it back in her hand, and when she closes her hand, like that's when Christine falls out. She basically passes out. But then I don't know if it's minutes, hours, what later. She wakes back up, sees everything around her. Mrs. Ganush is gone, the car is gone, everything's gone. But she does call the police, and she obviously files the report. So
you have to admit to the cops you got your ass whooped by a fucking senior citizen.
So much happened in that
took
scene.
the ass whooping and moved on.
So much happened in that scene. It was just like,
it was a fight. It was a scrap.
It was like, wow. And the whole time that little old lady just wasn't going down. I was like, Jesus, she's like the Terminator of fucking of gypsies. Like she's like the gypsy Terminator. This bitch was not going down. It was nuts. But anyways, so yeah, there's that. So from that point forward, then you see the next scene is her and Clay, and they're walking. And they're walking. I assume they probably just had dinner or something like that. But they're walking to the car. And this
Justin Long likes to wine and dine them.
This like gust of wind comes up behind her, and then like the leaves, and she starts hearing like these whispers and these like windy sounds and stuff. And basically the leaves start coming. So basically, I don't know, it's like gearing her eyes and her stuff like to the direction of a tarot reading window. Like there's a sign in a window that everything gears her attention towards, which it's tarot reading and stuff like that. So she immediately believes that she needs to go in and have her tarot read. So she tells her boyfriend that she wants to have a tarot Clay. She wants to have a tarot reading, and he immediately starts joking. He thinks it's a joke the entire time. Basically, it's all bullshit. But he wants to humor his girlfriend, so they go inside. And that's when we meet. I don't know how to say his name. Jaws. Anyways, the fortune teller. And they, he says, well, he $60, please. And Justin's like, are you shitting me? That seems pretty steep for this. And he's like, well, if you're not serious, then please feel free to leave. And he's like, all right, bye. And his girlfriend's like, nope, I'll pay. So that's when Justin's like, oh shit, okay, fine, I'll pay. Let's do this. Let's do this. Yes, damn it, his name is Clay. The whole time I wrote boyfriend, and then I was like, he's got a name and it's Clay, and they say it a lot in the movie. So then I had to switch my notes from boyfriend to Clay, and now he's got me calling him Justin. Anyways, but so like I said, he goes inside, he pays the fee, I guess. But we're not going to touch base on that. That was just a weird part of the movie anyway. Doesn't need to be said. But so he pays, and they go back and they sit down. And so we have an intense reading where he takes her hand. I don't know if any of you have ever had a reading done before, as far as this goes. But he takes her hand and he starts doing a reading for her, and he starts asking some basic questions. And that's when they realize he starts talking about, you've lost something. And she's like, no, I haven't lost anything. And he's like, well, no, you haven't lost anything, but something was taken from you. And then, or something, I don't know, something was taken from you. And then I can't remember how he worded it, but anyway, she was like, no, no, no. And then that's when he noticed the button was missing. And he was like, your button. And she was like, yeah, the button. And that's when Justin was like, yeah, whatever. He asked a few couple questions and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no, seriously, how would he know this? How would he know this? So anyways, they go on, and then he takes her hand again, and that's when things start to get a little weird. So you start getting like this wind starts coming into the shop. Wind chimes start to, wind chime. The shadow starts to kind of like go around a little bit. Things start to get eerie. He's going into a deep trance as far as this reading goes, and eventually he pulls through the image of a demon. So he is immediately shocked with this image of this demon, and when he sees that, he immediately ends the reading and says, I think I'm tired. I think we're done for the evening. I will of course give you your money back, but I'm sorry, you have to leave. And she's like, no, what happened, and he's like, he starts asking her if she dabbles in like black magic or witchcraft or anything like that. And she's like, no, and he's like asking her all these questions. She's like, no, of course not. No, why? And he says, well, somebody must have cursed you. So anyways, that's the end, so on and so forth. And then we leave. Um, we go home. She gets dropped off. Justin Long leaves. Clay. Oh, I'm so irritated with you over that. Damn it. I had to try so hard to tell him. Oh my God. Okay. Clay. His name is Clay. Clay drops her off. They don't live together. So she goes inside. She has a kitten. She has a cute little kitten. She goes inside, and next thing you know, she's like in the kitchen, and then we hear this horrible scratching sound. Like it's just scratching like nails across a chalkboard. It's horrible. And it's extremely loud. And then you hear like there's this massive gust of wind, and it shoots open all like the windows in the house. And she's like, holy shit, and like knocks the power out and stuff. So she goes and she's like starting to close up all the windows. And the next thing you know, you see this smoky shadow. It's kind of like smoke, and it's kind of like a shadow, and it comes out of nowhere and beats the fucking shit. Like it just waxes her one time, creases her one time real good, like one time for the one time. And like knocks this bitch fucking flying, and out it goes. It was like, I'm just coming here to sucker punch you one good time and then I'm out. But anyways, so that happens, and of course Clay comes to the rescue. And starts blaming it on Mrs. Ganoush, and he's like, I can't believe she would come to your home, so on and so forth. And she's like, it wasn't her. I didn't see who it was, but it wasn't her. She was not here. No one was in this house. So anyways, they have a doctor come to the house and take a look at her, and you overhear Clay and the doctor talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. So then he goes in the room once the doctor leaves and asks her how she's feeling. She says she's feeling much better, but she is embarrassed. But she once the doctor explained to her the post-traumatic stress disorder thing, that's when she started realizing that she had just overthought it and misinterpreted and so on and so forth. So she starts convincing herself that she really is just she just needs to get some rest, I guess. But it's during this conversation that they decide to make plans to go to his parents' cabin, which is by train. So they're talking about, booking, getting train tickets and going out to the cabin and spending a weekend or whatever at the parents' cabin. So she's extremely excited about that. I think he stays with her that night. Maybe they do live together. I don't know, because I know they sleep together that night. But she is sleeping, and we go to the scene where they're sleeping in bed together, and there's a fly. Oh my God, this scene is just nauseating. So the fly is flying around, and then it starts landing on her face, which the thought of bugs crawling anywhere near my face while I'm asleep flips my shit. I know it happens. I know we swallow so many spiders in our lifetime. I don't care to know. I don't want to think about it, but this forces you to think about it, because there's a fly that lands right on her face, and it's like traveling around on her face, and like it goes inside one nostril and comes out the other nostril, and then goes, yeah, and then it like just slips into her lips and goes down her throat, and it wakes her up. So she starts, gagging and coughing and gagging and coughing, and next thing you know, she goes to lay back down in bed, and she looks over where Clay. Ooh, this is your fault. I blame you. Where Clay is, and she sees Mrs. Ganoush in bed with her. Holy crap! And so, oh my god! And then Mrs. Ganoush gets on top of her and is like choking the shit out of her, so she can't breathe. She can't breathe, and she's struggling trying to get Mrs. Ganoush off of her and struggling to breathe, and so on and so forth. And the next thing you know, Mrs. Ganoush opens her mouth, and out starts flying just a bunch of dirt and bugs and maggots and just worms, and it's like going inside of Christine's mouth, and oh god, it was just so morbid as fuck. And that's when she wakes up for real and finds out that it's all just a dream. But anyways, she wakes up for real. Then we go to work the next day. And she sits down at her desk and she starts hearing that fly, and like she's like touching her belly, like she's like, oh my god, it sounds like there's a fly in my belly. But anyways, that's when gotta love Stu walks up, sits down, and he's like, let's go over these procedures, because she's like also training him. He's the new guy. So he sits down and he's like demanding that we go over these procedures. She's like, is there any, because she had just gotten assaulted, like horribly assaulted the day before. And she's like, is there any possible way we can just do this another day? I'm really exhausted, so on and so forth. And he's like, yeah, sure. I guess we'll just go tell the boss you don't have time to do it right now. So basically he's fucking with her. And she's like, no, because she wants the job. So she's like, just come on, let's do this. Sit down. So they sit down and they start kind of going over it. And they're going over it and going over it. And then the next thing you know, we start getting this tapping again. But it's the nasty fingernails like Mrs. Ganoush's, and she's starting to focus on this. Like she's trying to tell the story and explain how to do this portion of the job, but she keeps getting lost in thought because all she can hear is the of the nails, and she's seeing Mrs. Ganoush's nails, and all you can hear is Stu in the background going, and and you just want to punch Stu in the face. And she freaks out and starts screaming, and get your filthy pig knuckle off my desk. And she screams it out loud in front of everybody in the bank. And Stu's just like, what in the fuck? Like, where did that come from? Everybody in the bank's looking at her. Stu gets up, walks away. The boss comes over and says, hey, is everything okay? What's going on with you? And next thing you know, she starts getting a bloody nose. And he's like, hey, you got a bloody nose. And as soon as he tells her she's got a bloody nose, next thing you know, she starts projectile vomiting blood, just blood, like
a guar concert.
Yes, like worse than a Guar concert coming from her mouth hole. So she goes to cover her mouth, and as soon as she covers her mouth, it starts coming out of her nostrils, and she is literally just dousing her boss in blood, just like if you've ever been front row of a Guar show, this is that times 10. Like he was drenched from head to toe in what we can only presume was, I mean, obviously real blood. So anyways, and she's absolutely mortified, which who wouldn't be mortified? And out the door she goes. She runs out the door. She's just like, oh my God. Well, during the bloody nose scene and the throw up scene, we see Stu in the background. And guess what we catch Stu doing? We see Stu stealing the file. He is stealing the McPherson file. Now, remember, I told you that the last thing we saw was Stu overhearing the conversation where he was impressed with the McPherson file, and he wanted, to let her know that she was basically the one up for that position because he was so impressed with that McPherson file. So here we go. Stu in the background, stealing the file. Bastard. But anyways. So she goes to the gypsy lady's house, and she's decided she needs to ask for forgiveness. Obviously, she's been cursed. She wants to go ask the lady for forgiveness and hopes that she'll lift the curse. So she goes to the gypsy woman's house. She knocks on the door, and the gal's granddaughter answers the door and says, she said you'd be here. We knew you'd come, and da 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 da. And she's like, are you gonna help my grandma? How are you gonna help my grandma? So on and so forth. And she's like, I don't know. I just know that I need to help. So she eventually ends up going inside of the house because the gal eventually grants her permission to go inside, and she's like, oh, you think you can fix this? Okay, you go ahead and you go try to fix it. You can go, you go talk to her. So she lets her in the house, and she's like, where do I go? And the gal just kind of like points her, just kind of like, just go on, just go back through the house. You'll see. So now we've got the scene where she's walking through the house, and we're coming up on this. You start. She walks into a room where there appears to be this massive party, and there's like people just like running all over the place and laughing and loud and drinking and loud music and dancing and party, party, party. But then you start realizing there's a dinner table, and you're going across the dinner table, and then you come across the head chair, which is empty, and it's got a dish with her handkerchief in it, and then you start realizing what's happening, and then it's panning around into the other room where you start to see the photo, the displayed image of her, and you're realizing you're at a funeral. But obviously the gypsies, that's not how they get down. They were clearly celebrating life rather than mourning death, but that's what we're walking into. So obviously Mrs. Ganoush has passed away, so she has bestowed this wonderful curse upon Miss Christine Brown, and now has passed away. So there is no way for her to ask for forgiveness. Once she realizes that she has passed away, she kind of panics and trips. And when she trips, she falls, and down comes the casket on top of her. Now, when the casket comes down, Mrs. Ganoush falls out of the casket and right on top of Christine. And when she does, that gumming mouth once again ends up on Christine's mouth. And now we've got this green fluid that's just pouring out of Mrs. Ganoush into Christine's mouth. It is foul. I don't know if that's embalming fluid. I don't know how like that goes down. Do we have any like morticians here, or like people who work in the mortuary who know how embalming works? Because I don't know what that was falling out of her mouth, but it was holy fucking shit. So anyways, she's like, get her off me, get her off me. So they're trying to pull her off of her, and they get her off of her. And when they pull this old dead rigor mortis body off of her, in her fucking hand of Mrs. Ganoush, once again, a handful of Christine's hair. So when they yank the body off of her, out comes another fucking handful of Christine's hair. So this dead woman is still pulling her hair. Second time, she has taken two massive handfuls of this woman's hair. Anywho, so that's that scene. So then we finally realize, okay, she's dead. Here we are. Okay, there we go. Now, fast forward. She goes to see the fortune teller once again. She's like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. We got to do something. So now she goes back to the fortune teller. The fortune teller tells her that maybe you can try to appease the gods, or not the gods, the demon who is torturing her, who has been, her curse. Maybe you can appease this entity, and maybe it won't take your soul. And the easiest way to appease is done through sacrifice. So he does give her a book on her, and he says, if you're age, she's like, no fucking way. I volunteer at the Humane Society. I love animals, so on and so forth. There's no way that's happening. But she takes the book anyway. So then we go back to her house. And that's when she goes home. You see her sitting at her table. She's looking through the book, but she's like, nah, fuck that. She closes the book. She's like, I can't do this. There's no fucking way. But then oh yeah, the fortune teller explains to her that it's the Lamia. The Lamia is who she is being cursed by and tortured by. So he will torture her for 3 days in a row, and then it's either on the third day or the next day, the fourth day. He comes for her soul, and he will take her soul. That's the whole point of the Lamia curse. So anyways, like I said, she goes home, she's reading the book, she closes the book because it's just not her style. She doesn't think she's going to be able to offer sacrifice. And the Lamia returns. This time beats the fucking shit out of her. Fucking chases her all over her, all the way up her house, all the way up into her bedroom, and then it ends up busting through her window, coming in through her window, grabs her, flings her all over her room, just tossing her room. Her entire room gets tossed upside down, and then throws her into her what's that thing? One of those things that's like a cabinet for your clothes. What is that thing?
Wardrobe.
Yes. Throws her into her wardrobe, destroys the wardrobe, busts it all over the place. I mean, it literally fucks her world up. And she just, after all is said and done, and it's done, because it's going to torture her for 3 days straight. So after it tortures her that time, she looks around her house and she's like, oh my God, I got to do something. I got to do something. Because he even tells her, you'd be surprised how far you're willing to go when the Lamia is coming for you. So the very next scene is the scene where she grabs a knife and says, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. And I'll be damned if she don't sacrifice her fucking cat. Of course, it doesn't show it, but you're definitely it is implied that she kills her cat. And then after she stabs the cat, the blood goes everywhere, so on and so forth. The following scene is of her throwing her dead cat into a hole and burying it. And that's when Clay pops up, as she's burying the cat. And he says, hey, things are really weird. Are you sure you don't want to reschedule this dinner? Because they're supposed to have dinner with his family, with his mother and father. This is the first time that they're meeting her. She's the girl from the farm. Obviously, they don't want him with her anyway. But they're having dinner, and he's like, are you sure you don't want to just reschedule this? And that's when she says, everything's going to be okay. Because she's sacrificed the cat. So now she thinks she's done what she has to do in order to break the curse. So she's like, no, I want to keep the date. Let's do it. Everything's going to be okay. I just know it's going to be okay. So we fast forward to the scene where she's coming down the stairs. She's dressed up for dinner. He's looking at her. She looks beautiful. She's in this beautiful yellow dress. She looks amazing. And he tells her, you look beautiful. So anyways, now they're on their way. They're on their way to dinner with the parents. They go inside. The introductions are a little awkward. You could tell right off the gate, mother is very judgmental, so on and so forth. So they're walking towards the dining area. They're walking past the pet cat, and the cat hisses at her, which is obviously a sign that the cat senses something. And they're like, that's weird. And she's like, no, I get it. I used to have a cat, so I had a cat. And Clay, almost suggested. Clay said, what do you mean had? We have a cat, unless there's something that happened that I don't know about. And she's like, sometimes they just come and go. Like, maybe it just got outside and never came back. I don't know. That's obviously what she's going with. But anyways, so they sit down at the dinner table. And one thing leads to another, and the conversation ends up getting put on her family. And she wondered, she had mentioned she doesn't see her mother much. And, of course, the boyfriend's mom, Clay's mom, wants to know why. And she said, well, ever since my dad passed away, she's kind of just, kept to herself, and just kind of been secluded and so on and so forth. And that's, the mother just kept crying, was like, well, why? Because, she's a very judgmental type of person. She kept prying and prying and prying. And Clay was like, because her husband died and she's lonely. She just wants to be alone. And that's when Christine was like, no, actually, because my mother's an alcoholic. Ever since my father died, my mother's a raging alcoholic. So, and that actually is what impressed Clay's parents, the fact that she had the guts to admit that and still be strong about it and so on and so forth. So that's actually what it appeared to have won, especially Clay's mom over, because all the way up until that point, she was extremely judgmental until she admitted that. So from that point, then they're like, then the conversation's lighter and everybody starts like really hitting it off and stuff like that. So there's this cake that Christine had brought in the beginning, and it's a homemade cake. Well, at that point, the mom's like, let's try some of your cake. So they cut the cake and they serve the cake, and Christine's sitting there at the dinner table, and they're starting to taste the cake, and they're like, this is actually pretty good. This is pretty good. And Christine looks down at her cake, and next thing you know, a little wiggly eyeball pops out of the cake. And she's like, oh my God. So she takes her fork and she stabs the eyeball that's inside of her cake, and then like something like red stuff, which looks like, I don't know, like a jelly filling starts coming out, but I guess it's probably supposed to be blood. I'm not real sure. But anyways, and she's the only one seeing this, obviously. But Clay notices. The other parents don't notice. But Clay notices. Sorry guys, my wrist is starting to hurt. But so yeah, she's playing it off though. She's trying to play cool through it. It's not really working though. And next thing you know, she goes to grab the fork out of the cake, or out of the piece of cake, and the fork disappears down into the cake. It's just a wild scene. But she's trying to play it off, trying to play it off, trying to play it off. But then out of nowhere, more scratching. And she's at the dinner table at her, boyfriend's parents' house. So it's not like has anywhere to escape. But she starts hearing the scratching go by, and it's getting louder and louder, and it's to a point where she can't even hear anything but the scratching. And then you start hearing banging, like there's banging on all the doors and all the walls, and obviously she's the only one hearing any of this, but she doesn't realize that. And she starts screaming. She starts just panicking and freaking out. She's like, I hear you, I know you're here, leave me alone, no. And she takes her glass and she throws her glass at the door, and this is all taking place in front of the parents. No one else is hearing or seeing any of this but her. So the parents are just like absolutely mortified. They're like, what the fuck just happened? You just pranked out. Nothing's going on. wow. And she realizes what just happened. And she's like, oh my God, I think I should leave. And the mother's like, yeah, we think that's for the best. So she goes to leave. Clay goes to follow. Mother says, please don't chase her. She's obviously very sick, so on and so forth. Anywho, we're almost done. Anywho, so after that, after that embarrassment at dinner, Christine goes to the fortune teller's place again, and she barges in the door and starts wrecking his place. She starts throwing tables and throwing chairs and screaming and yelling. And she's like, you made me kill that poor kitty, and I sacrificed it and it did nothing, and it's still after me and it didn't work. And the guy was like, you're dealing with, very strong entities and demons and stuff like that. There are no guarantees that anything will work. It is only an option. It is only an attempt. It may or may not work. Well, he starts mentioning a woman that he knows that they can hire, and maybe she might be able to help. She's a medium. This actually happens to be the same woman from the beginning of the movie, the woman who they took that little boy to, and she was not able to save him, and he was drugged to hell. Well, in that beginning scene, the last thing that she says before the opening credits is she says, we will meet again. So anyways, going back to the fortune teller, he lets her know that there's a woman they can hire for $10,000, but that she'd be willing to help. So she goes to her boss the next day at work, and she, believing she's got the assistant manager position in the bag due to the McPherson file, she goes to her manager the next morning to ask for an advancement on the assistant management position. She says that a family member's sick in her family, that they're not terminal, but they are sick, and she would like to be able to help them. That's when she finds out that the loan had canceled. They called over from the loan and canceled the loan because somebody else is picking it up. He said, I have to call and find out exactly what happened, but the loan has been canceled. It's not looking good for you with everything that's going on, and you've just got so much going on in life. We actually think that we're probably just going to give the job to Stu. And that was soul crushing for her. I mean, especially after everything she's already been through. So she's putting together stuff. She's coming to terms. She just walks away. He's like, if you need help, and she just walks out on the conversation. She has nothing to say. So then we fast forward to her going through all of her stuff. Like, she's grabbing things to pawn, and you can tell it's like she's trying to find her most valuable items. She's throwing them all in totes and stuff. She goes out to her barn. She's grabbing stuff out of her barn, old stuff out of her barn. And next thing you know, here's Mrs. Ganoush again. But this time we know Mrs. Ganoush is dead. So she ends up getting her up against like a beam, in the shed, and goes to punch her. Like, she's screaming, and she goes to punch her, and Mrs. Ganoush punches her right into her mouth. And then, like, her whole fist is inside Christine's mouth. Like, so Christine takes the ice skates that she's got in her hand that she's going to pawn, and she cuts some rope and some like Looney Tunes. It's like Looney Tunes, but like an anvil or something, comes down, hits Mrs. Ganoush, and then she realizes, she was never there to begin with. Obviously it's a ghost or whatever. But there's that. So from that point, she gathers up all her stuff, takes it to the pawn shop, and they add it all up. And for everything, because mind you, she's trying to get $10,000 to hire this woman, but everything she's able to pawn, everything she has of value to her name, including jewelry, the whole 9 yards, $3,800. So she takes it, she goes home, she's sitting at her table crying, eating ice cream, which evidently she is lactose intolerant. But Clay comes in and tells her, hey, I just want you to be better. I wanted to let you know I paid the $10,000. So Clay actually went and paid the $10,000 so she didn't have to. So that was nice.
Justin Long's like that.
Oh my God. Well, that was nice. So anyways, but next day they go to the medium's house. And so they're going to do a ritual, which during this ritual, they are hoping to get the Lamia to possess a goat, which they bring in a goat to the table. And they chain this goat to the table in hopes that they're able to transfer the Lamia into the goat. And then when they get the Lamia into the goat, they slit the goat's throat, which thus releases the curse, banish, like they're removing the Lamia from the situation through sacrifice or whatever, what have you. So that's the goal. That's the plan. And she tells the medium tells Christine that as soon as the lamia enters my body, put my hand onto the goat. When you put my hand on the goat, the lamia will go from my body to the goat's body, and that's when we slit the goat's throat. So that's what's supposed to happen. They start the ritual, and as they're doing the ritual, next thing you know, there's all these spirits and stuff that are all trying to get involved. So she banishes all the spirits and makes all the spirits leave the room, and then we're back into it, and she said the lamia is coming. And then they proceed back with the ritual, and next thing you know, the lamia does what it's supposed to do. It possesses the medium, um, and eventually we finally get the medium's hand onto the goat. We get the lamia transferred from the medium to the goat, and then the gentleman, her assistant, who is supposed to slit the goat's throat, goes over to cut the goat's throat. But when he does, he fucks up and cuts the chain, cuts the goat free, and then goes to cut the goat's neck again. But evidently, the goat bites his hand. So it was really reckless. It was horrible. Like they were not prepared for that. But the goat bites the guy's hand, the assistant's hand, and then possesses the assistant. So at this point, the assistant's possessed, so on and so forth. They are able to, though, at some point, the medium is able to banish the lamia from her possessed assistant. But when the spirit is or not when the spirit, when the medium banishes the demon, the lamia, it takes all of her energy and evidently kills her, because she dies from that point. So that was a little confusing to me too, but I guess it just drained all of her energy to do that. But also it is then explained to Christine that it didn't remove the curse, that she is still cursed and the lamia is still coming for her. All she did was she was able to banish temporarily, like a medium she wouldn't have been able to. I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird explanation, but basically, it's not over. So the goat was never slaughtered, so he will return. They didn't break the curse. So he proceeds to tell her the last thing that she can do is give that button to somebody else. Because he's going to come for a soul regardless. It's just whoever possesses the button, whoever actually owns the button. And she's like, why the fuck didn't you tell me this from the beginning? And he said, this would have been this all would have been taken care of a long time ago. Well, he said, I didn't tell you because whoever you give that button to, it is going to rip the soul from. And it will be tortured in hell forever. So, we were going to try other ways first, but ultimately, there's one more way and you have to give it to someone else. So she's riding home with her boyfriend, and he asks, is it over? And she tells him, yes, it's over, because at this point now she has convinced herself she's going to give it away. She's giving it to someone else. It's going to be someone else's problem. She's just got to figure out the right person. So she tells her boyfriend everything's fine. It's over. And then so they start talking about meeting the next day, about going to the bus stop for the cabin and so on and so forth. And he's like, see you at 7:30. Don't be late, blah, 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 blah. During this ride, though, they end up almost hitting this old man in the street. When they almost hit the old man in the street, he slams on his brakes, and all of her purse, his like briefcase thing, all of the papers, they all kind of flew out and went into the floorboard. And when they all went to the floorboard, when she goes to get out of the car before she goes inside, goes into her house, she starts panicking because she can't find the envelope, because they put the button in this envelope. And he hands her this envelope. He's like, you've got to get rid of this. So the button's in the envelope, and she's going to give it away. So she's panicking, and she's fumbling through all these papers on the floorboard. Finally, thank God, she finds the envelope. So she's relieved. So she snatches up the envelope, and she says, everything's going to be fine. I'll meet you at the bus station. I just have to stop somewhere on the way first and give somebody a gift, and then I will be there. So anyways, she gets out of the car. He takes off. And before she goes in the house, she turns back around and starts walking the opposite way. And so she goes to a diner. And she's sitting in this diner with her envelope, and she's tapping it on the table, drinking coffee, trying to figure out who she's going to give this to. And she's looking around the diner, and she sees this little old man sitting off by himself. And he's got like an oxygen tank, and he's sitting there drinking coffee all by himself. So she has decided, this is the one. You know, he's older. He's obviously going to go sooner than later anyway. This won't be a surprise to anyone when he goes. He's sick. He's got a medical condition anyway. So she goes to approach him to give him this button, this in this envelope. And as she's approaching him, here comes this tiny little bitty old lady. And she's got a little bitty Danish on a plate. And she's bringing her little husband a little Danish. And they're sitting in this diner together, drinking coffee and eating Danishes. So immediately she realizes he's not alone and he will be missed and she can't do it. So next thing she thinks to do is she thinks to give it to Stu because Stu's a fucking total piece of shit, right? So she calls Stu from the payphone and she's like, you better get your ass up here. And if you don't, I'm going to call our boss and tell him some things you don't want him to know. And he's like, oh, yeah, like what? And she's like the fact that you stole the McPherson file off my desk and gave it to the other bank. You better get down here. Click. So she hangs up the phone. And then we go back to her sitting at the bar of this diner, and in comes Stu. And Stu is absolutely panicked, and he's begging and pleading, please don't tell my boss. Please don't tell my boss. Which, by the way, let me mention, during this conversation, he says something about, my dad can't find out. Please don't tell my dad. Who the fuck is Stu's dad? And why was he talking about, what is this? Is the boss his dad? Does he call the boss his dad? I was so confused by that part. So if anybody knows what the fuck I'm talking about and knows who Stu's dad was or what his relation to anybody in that bank was, please tell me, because that was super fucking confusing. But anyways, the whole time he's begging and pleading, please don't let them find out. Please don't tell on me. And she's like, shut up. I need you to take this. I need you to take this. And when I give this to you, this is going to be yours. And he's like, why are you giving me a gift? I thought you were upset with me. And she's like, just quit changing the subject, please. I need to give you this. Eventually, as he's sitting there crying, he's literally like crying, basically, like he's weeping and crying like a little child. And she just, once again, cannot bring herself to do it. So she's like, you know what? Just get the fuck out of my sight. And he's like, please don't tell him. She's like, just leave. I won't tell anybody. Just get away from me. And so he leaves. He's like, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And he leaves. Okay. So she's like, I can't fucking do it. So she doesn't know what to do. So once again, she goes back to the fortune teller and she says, you know, is there a possibility that I can give this to somebody who is already deceased? And he starts talking about how the soul never does. The soul never really dies. So he actually believes that if you make a formal gift out of it, that you can bestow this button upon the deceased as long as you make a formal gift out of it, seeing as the soul never really dies. Because this is only after a soul, as we've discussed. So he believes that it's possible. So she is like, fuck this. I'm giving that bitch it back. She's decided she's going to Mrs. Ganoush's grave. As she's driving, we see the handkerchief out of fucking nowhere. And the handkerchief hits the windshield. So she uses the windshield wipers to get it off the windshield. And then it goes into her, like in the front of the car, like through the front of like her engine and stuff like that, ends up in her vents, comes out of her vent and ends up whacking her on her face. So now she can't see. She's like struggling to pull the handkerchief off her face. Finally gets it off her face, gets the car in park. She's right outside of the cemetery. She gets out of the car fighting with this damn handkerchief, and then it goes down her damn throat. And it's like almost, she's like pulling the handkerchief out of her throat. It's just like, I just wanted to gag and puke the whole time. But she finally gets rid of the handkerchief, realizes she's outside of the cemetery, and in she goes. She digs up Mrs. Ganoush's grave, gets down to her casket, busts open the casket. You see dead Mrs. Ganoush in there. And so she's like, you will take this. I am giving you this, but talking to a dead person. And so she's trying to shove the stuff into her rigor mortis hand, which is not actually accepting the gift. It's rigor mortis. It's not taking it from her. So she keeps trying to make it a formal gift to where it's taken from her. And she's like, you know what? Fuck this. So she takes her damn shovel and cranks it down inside of Mrs. Ganoush's mouth, pries open her fucking mouth, and like she literally says, oh, I'll do one up. Like when the guy was telling her you have to make a formal gift of it, she's like, oh, I'll one up that and I'll shove it down her fucking throat. So anyways, she cranks her fucking mouth open, takes the envelope, shoves it in Mrs. Ganoush's mouth, kicks her fucking jaw shut, and it's like, you will take this, blah, 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 blah. Mind you, it's torrentially fucking downpouring this entire time. Like monsoon pouring, like filling the grave at a rapid pace of water, like just dumping down on fucking this grave. So it gets to a point now where the body's floating and it's like, oh wait, as she's trying to get her to take the coin in the rigor mortis hand before she cranks the mouth open and shoves it in. No, Mrs. Ganoush grabs her hair once again and yanks out her hair a third time. The button. That's what I meant. As she's giving her the button, she yanks out her hair once again. So 3 times this poor girl's hair has been yanked, but not once do you ever actually notice it. I feel like if my hair were pulled 3 times, I would have bald spots all over the place. But anyways, so the water's rising, the body's rising with the water. It's like trying to like come up and drag her down and drag her down. And she's like trying to dig her way out of this grave that is now just like a muddy pit. And she's having trouble getting out of it. And next thing you know, here comes one of these big, big crosses, and it just falls over and conks her right on the head. And both her and Mrs. Ganoush go down. Her and the body go down underneath the water. And it takes a few seconds, but she emerges and she is alive. So she does manage to get out, and it's over. So we've done it. She's given the gift. She gave her the button. She's out of there. She's in the clear. So she goes home. She showers. She's in the shower, and then you hear her boss calls, and the answering machine picks up, and her boss is leaving her a voicemail and says, "Oh, well, we found out some interesting things about the McPherson case. Once we spoke to someone, we found out that Stu had actually stole the file off your desk, gave it to the other people, and when I went down to Stu to confront him face to face, Stu tried to pin the whole entire thing on you. So when we found out there were so many lies and holes in Stu's story, we did decide to fire him, and we are offering you that position. So come Monday morning, you have the position of the assistant manager." So everything's, she she did it, like such a great ending. Like she gets the job, so on and so forth. She gets to the bus station. She's getting ready to go to the cabin. She sees this beautiful blue dress in a window where they're closing. She talks them into opening just so she can buy, or not the dress, a coat. It's a coat. She just talks them into, please let me in. I know you're closing. I just want to buy this one coat. They let her buy the coat. And she gets to Clay. She meets Clay at the bus stop, and she's telling him, there's this long and endearing speech where she's telling him how he always believed in her, and she just wanted to know him to know how grateful she was that he never gave up, and so on and so forth. And then she admitted that she could have helped, and she was left up to her, and she chose not to, and next time she'll make better decisions, and so on and so forth. And then she's like, but moving forward, today's a new day. And he's like, you look so beautiful. You just look beautiful. And she's like, do you see my new coat? Look at my new coat. She said, I was done with that old one. I just wanted a fresh start. And he goes, that's too bad, because since you got rid of your coat, he pulls out an envelope and he says, I meant to tell you the other day, I think you might have ended up with my coin, because I've got your envelope with the button in it. So lo and behold, she never gives Mrs. Ganoush the button. The envelope that was shoved in Mrs. Ganoush's mouth actually had the coin from the beginning of the movie, when Clay had put the coin in an envelope to add to his collection. And when they slammed on the brakes and all the papers ended up in the floorboard, and she was shuffling through all those papers, she just grabbed the first envelope she found, because she wasn't thinking of Clay's coin in an envelope. She was thinking about her button being an envelope. So lo and behold, she never gave the button away. She never broke the curse. The curse is still in full effect. And as soon as she realizes that button is in that envelope and she didn't do what she was supposed to do, she starts to panic. And she starts to back up. And as she backs up, she falls into the actual subway, because they're at the train station. They're getting ready to get on the train and go to the cabin. So she falls down into the train tracks. And he's like, holy shit. He sees the train approaching. She's down on the train tracks. He's like begging for somebody to please help, please help. And the train is coming. There's no fucking stopping it. There's no, this woman, this is it. This is the end of the movie. This is it. So the train's coming, and you think she's just going to get fucking splattered all over the place. But right before the train starts to get them, the bottom of the ground like starts breaking up, and hell starts appearing, and hands start coming up and just start dragging this woman to fucking hell. And like, then the train starts going over top, and as the train's going over top, you can still see, like glimpses of her face, and she's just getting drugged to hell, begging and pleading for them to, please help me, please save me. And there's nothing he can fucking do. And boom, that is the end of the movie. Oh my fucking God, what an amazing movie. Fucking, if I had more than 2 thumbs, I would have all the thumbs. All the thumbs up. Such a good fucking movie. I absolutely love the way they ended that movie. The fact that we thought she had made it, we thought she did it, they thought there was going to be a good ending, and the ending was just like, nope, she's going to hell. She's going to fucking hell. They're dragging her motherfucking ass to hell, and oh my God, I just love it. I love the movie. I am so impressed with it. Such a great fucking movie. I think it's underrated. I think it should have done better. I think everybody else should love it too, because it's a really good fucking movie.
Good fucking movie.
I love the way it ended. And the whole time you're like, no fucking way. Because you think it's so good and you're like, yes. And then he pulls that fucking envelope out and your fucking heart just hits the floor. You're just like, oh no, that did not just fucking happen. That totally, wow. All of that for nothing. That whole scene, all of it was for nothing. So yeah, that was the movie. Yay! Now, I think it was an excellent movie. I give it 2 thumbs up. I'd say every bit of 9 out of 10 stars. There were a couple of things in the movie that didn't like sit right with me that I thought were a little odd. Like we mentioned, there was a part where I had started to go into detail, but I didn't think it was relevant in the moment. Where like he goes to take his payment and the fortune teller scene, and Justin Long goes and hands him his platinum MasterCard or whatever.
That's how Justin Long rolls.
And so the fortune teller goes, "Ooh, MasterCard Platinum, very nice." And then they walk into the next room and they immediately go into the reading. So he never actually charges the debit card, right? He never run. There's no scene where he actually charges it. He takes the card and goes straight into the other room and they go right into the reading. And then when he ends that reading, when he sees the demon's face and he says, "We've got to end this. I will, of course, refund your money, give you your money back." For one, you never even charge the money. So that stood out to me. It drove me crazy. And for 2, why did he even mention, oh, MasterCard Platinum, very nice? Like, what the fuck did that have to do with anything? Just like there was something like in the beginning that literally there's a few things in the movie that didn't have anything to do with anything that I thought were just kind of dumb. Like the speaking techniques, like what was that even meant for? It bears 0 significance in the entire movie. But so other than that, 9 out of 10 for sure. Everything else was great. Even down to like I like the pace of this movie. I felt like the pace was just on point. The entire movie, like I think it gives it just enough slow time in the beginning where you're like building up the characters and setting the story, like the surroundings and everything, to right into action, because it's a very short period of time of setup, and then like everything starts popping off the second Mrs. Ganush comes into the loan office. And from that point forward, it is just like non fucking stop. Something is happening the whole fucking movie, all the way down to the end, all the way down to the ending, which was also, like I said, so impressive. I love movies that feel like they're going to have a happy ending, but then don't. Like, I know that may sound morbid, but I do. There's something to be said about horror movies that are supposed to end well and don't. And this was one of those. So, I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as we did, especially as much as I did. Great movie. And thank you guys for hanging out. Sorry, I'm super rusty. Like it's been a month since we've done one of these. So I hope it was okay. I hope you guys don't hate it. Please don't unfriend me. So yeah. That said, I guess I don't really know what else to say.
I'm gonna go smoke some hemp and look at some Bernie memes.
Bernie memes. Oh God, so many Bernie memes.
Bernie memes.
But yeah, so there's that. I don't know what I'm gonna do next week, guys.
Send suggestions to the page.
I don't know what to do. Guys, suggest something. Tell me what to do, because I am super fucking rusty and I have nothing but time now. I am at home all
Wednesday,
day
there will be a
long.
Justin Long appreciation show hosted by me.
Oh my God, he's so gay for that. Anywho, so yeah, that was that. YouTube, if you haven't subscribed, please go to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. And if for some reason this did not download onto YouTube, my sincerest apologies. And next week it will, for those who need to view it that way. So anywho, that's that. We thank you guys for sticking it out with us. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you for everything. We love you guys so much. Thank you for keeping my head up and keeping me positive. And because if I'm not positive, he's not positive, and it's been hard. So thank you guys for everything. If you guys want merch, hit me up. You can personally inbox me. You're also welcome to inbox the show. Whatever, and then I'll get into you. It'll come to me regardless. So yeah, thank you guys. Share this live feed, that way we can get views going again. And we will see you guys next Sunday, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern. We love you. Thank you guys.